let's go get into to the Dynasty episode 5 and 6. And the episode 5, it starts with Tom talking about the losing to the Giants in the Super Bowl, and he talked about how that is the one game in all of his playing career that if he could change the outcome of that would be the one he would talk about. I thought you know, in we all know Bill Belichick as the no days off. Last year was last year, put it in the past, and he actually put a different perspective on that season. He talked about how, that season, the 16-0 season, they shouldn't forget about because because of all those years of going through the 5-11, the 7-9, winning 16 games and going undefeated in the regular season is a feat only 2 teams in NFL history have ever done. So even though they fell short in the Super Bowl, it was something that they could absolutely be proud of.
Yeah, I like that. I thought that was cool because it was most of the same team. It's like, hey guys, what you did last year was damn near impossible. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. We're here to work, but let's not take that for granted. That was special.
I haven't been able to watch, guys. I'm not going to lie. I've been so goddamn busy. I've had zero time.
That's a piss poor excuse.
Sorry, man.
So, Grant, you and I are rolling here, but, I did not know that Brady was going to try and play after he tore his ACL, after he got hurt in week 1, and he was, how he was going to play. He was just going to brace it up and fix it after the season. And he was actually throwing like he was going to play. And Randy comes up to him in practice. He's like, "Tom, are we playing here? Are you actually going to play?" And then they take him into the locker room, and how dejected he was and mad. He was throwing his playbook in the training room, just frustrated because he wanted to be out there and how he wanted to play so bad and be out there with his brothers.
I tell you what, being injured it sucks. It's no fun, and especially with an ACL tear, you're going to be in an absolute monstrosity of a brace for probably at least 10 weeks, 12 weeks. But boy, even if he would have braced that thing up, he would have done a lot more harm than good had he played.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's one of those things where he's a competitor like we'll never understand. But sometimes you just got to sit back and let the rehab go and get your body right, Tom. Because I tell you what, if you would have tried to gut that out in 2008, your career, these 3 Super Bowls you won in the second half of this dynasty in Tampa Bay, probably don't happen.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it was because he was getting flashbacks of how he became the starter, where there was nothing with Bill, nothing was guaranteed. They were both Drew and Tom were kind of at similar points in their careers where they were the guys. They were looked at as franchise quarterbacks, and then in one fell swoop, Drew loses his job, and Matt Castle comes in, and when after they beat the Chiefs in week 1, the speech that Bill gave was talking about how when Trent Green got hurt in 99 and Kurt Warner came in, won him the Super Bowl, and then in 2001 when Bledsoe got hurt, Tom led him there, and you never know. And he goes, well, now Matt has the opportunity to do the same thing. And when Bill said that, Castle had that look of like, oh shit, like all the pressure is on me now. And it was funny because after they played the Jets and Bill gives him the game ball, and this is where they talk about guys like Julian Edelman or Tom or Gronk. They talk about the sense of humor that Bill has, where it's a very dry sense of humor, and he goes, "Yeah, Matt, now I know you haven't started a game since the fucking 7th grade, so great job. We got more work to do, but here's the game ball." And they show that And Kathy, when they interviewed Kathy, was like, yeah, everybody, after it was announced that I was going to be the guy, everybody on TV had to make sure everybody in the world knew that I haven't started a football game since high school. And the last time he started a game on national television was when he was 12 playing in the Little League World Series.
That was a great nugget. That was hilarious. And dude, I actually thought Matt did a hell of a job in this episode talking things through. And I don't know, this may have been my favorite episode so far, just because.
Yeah.
Also in this episode, you see the greatness of Belichick. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Bill Belichick, the head coach, is the best coach in NFL history. Bill Belichick, the GM, got Bill Belichick, the coach, fired and ruined his reputation. Because when he had those pieces, that defense, Randy, Wes, Lawrence Maroney, and they realized what Matt did differently compared to what Tom did, and they changed it just like that, they still won 11 games. And missed the playoffs in a tough year because the AFC was really good that year. So this is the year that people forget about, but when we realize the greatness of Belichick, it's 2008.
Yeah.
And he probably should have been AP Coach of the Year.
He probably should have been, but they talked about how Teddy Bruschi, who's been fantastic in this, talks about how to play for the Patriots, you had to be mentally tough because, and like in their big meeting room, they have a quote by Sun Tzu that said, "Every battle is fought before it is won." And I can't remember who said it, but
or is it every battle is won before it's fought?
Yeah, isn't that what I said?
Maybe. Sorry, go on.
Close enough, yeah. I think. I don't know.
And how they kind of dive deep into Belichick about how his origins of how he got into coaching. His dad coached at the Naval Academy, and they interview his mom and talk about how he was just there sitting by his dad watching film, learning, and how his dad, if Bill was gonna go, it wasn't for him to mess around or horse around. Bill was there to learn, and if he wasn't going to learn, his dad was going to kick his ass. So, but talking about how most coaches are coaching football, Bill is coaching warfare. And, and I think part of the reason why we saw the downfall of Bill is how they didn't have those strong leaders on the team like the Brewskis, because you had to be mentally tough, because in football, there's going to be tough situations. He's going to Bill got on you, and how are you going to handle it? Were you going to sit there, pout, shut down? You had to be able to, rise above that, listen to the message, not listen to how it's being said. And, when it was also at a time when the Patriots, a lot of the older veterans were retiring or leaving or being traded. And Bruschi talked about how he was kind of that voice in the locker room of saying things in a different way to get those guys on board and to buy into what Bill was saying and how he was saying it. And when those guys left, there was nobody there that could really get that message across.
Like when he told Castle, "Hey Matt, how are you gonna have to feel? I'm gonna have to write a note to your mother and say that her son was deceased because he missed the corner blitz coming off the edge." Like when I hear that, I'm getting nervous and I'm just kind of shaking in my boots. Like, dude, this guy was an asshole. Like, wow. I would not want to play for him or have that guy be my boss. Holy Toledo.
Yeah, and then it kind of talks about how the year after, when Brady comes back from injury, it was just a bit of a frustrating year where they end up losing to the Ravens. They get blown out by the Ravens in the wild card round, and people talking about how the dynasty was over. And that's where we get into episode 6, and they talk about how they were looking for toughness, guys that were mentally tough, physically tough, that were willing to go and do the dirty work. And episode 6 starts by staring into Aaron Hernandez's eyes, and that's what they talk about was because as a lot of the veterans were cut, they went and drafted that 2010 drafted it kind of some new faces that were part of that second Patriots dynasty with Gronk, Devin McCourty, Aaron Hernandez was also in that, and that's what kind of the episode really focuses around.
Well, and Dylan Jules, Julian Edelman, he was a second-year receiver, so he was part of that new dynasty culture too. Being drafted in 2009.
Yeah, and they talk about why they drafted Aaron Hernandez. Obviously, you don't know that he's going to be a murderer, but there were definitely some things that happened at Florida. There were issues, and Ernie Adams does a good job of explaining it. Was we got him in the 4th round, and we felt that he was a first-round talent. And they felt that when they took him in the 4th round, if it didn't work out, they can just cut bait with him. And then it goes back to when Aaron was at Florida, how he got into a fight at a bar, and Urban Meyer had a problem solver down in Florida, and kind of learned that Aaron was like, oh, I'm a football player. He could get in trouble, but not really get in trouble. And talk about at the rookie symposium, Chris Carter, how about doing things the right way and cutting bait with bad influences in your life, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to be hanging around you just because you have money. And Aaron and I think it was Michael Hawley who talked about it, who's been in the Boston media forever, and how there were signs, if you go back and watch some of his interviews, about like some of the things he was saying, that it felt like it was maybe throwaway lines, that like maybe we should have pressed him on some of this, about how when Aaron got his new contract, and about how the Patriot way changes you, and not being so reckless. And that would have been one of those moments. It's like, what do you mean, like, being reckless? What have you been doing? And Hernandez losing his dad, Kraft felt that Aaron looked to him as a paternal figure, that they had a very close relationship. And there were a lot of signs, though, too, on the surface with Aaron, that like Kraft or the coaches, maybe they didn't notice. But like in the locker room, they talked about how with him meltdowns happened often, how he talked about beating their ass, how he was going to kill them. And then towards the end, before he got arrested, is that they noticed that he was hanging around the bad influences, and he would say things in walkthroughs that, like, if any other player was going to say it, there's no way they would last. And I think Bill just didn't respond to it. I think Bill probably thought that Aaron was just kind of looking for attention, and figured, if I ignore it, he's just going to stop, because that's what he's doing. And then it was so bad that the Patriots players had a code basically that said, don't hang out with Chico, because if you hung out with him, there were some good chances that Aaron was going to be getting in trouble, or you were going to get in some trouble.
It's kind of a sad and disturbing episode. And, Dylan, I really felt bad for Deion Branch there, because you could tell he gave Aaron way too many benefits of the doubt, because it just starts off in him. He's just cold in the face, and he goes, man, there are so many instances I should have seen and realized that Aaron was just a bad dude in general, and I missed him. And yeah, like you said, just kind of a sad, eerie episode. And I appreciate the fact that at the end that Robert Kraft apologized to everyone and said, "Hey, we made a mistake. We kept this man around too long, and now Odin Lloyd is dead, and two others are too. And sure, I think Aaron was acquitted of that, but up to three people now aren't on this planet anymore because of this man. And it's just kind of
Yeah.
it's a sad situation."
And Kraft talked about how it changed his life, about how he looks at people because he couldn't believe that he got snookered the way he did. And because after when the allegations came up, Aaron was working out at the Patriots facility, and Robert went to go talk to him, and he looked Robert in the eye and said, "I had nothing to do with this." And Robert told him, he's like, "Well, if you did, I'm sure you had a good reason. I will get you the best lawyer that money can buy. I will pay for him." But and then the Boston Globe did a investigation. They looked back on the last couple of years of his life, and they found out that he requested a trade to a West Coast team. And Ernie Adams kind of summed it up by saying the best thing for Aaron Hernandez's football career would have been maybe playing in Seattle.